This is part one of Jesus and the woman at the well. I want to walk through this story and really help you understand it. Maybe I can bring some things out for you that you haven't seen, and hopefully it'll enrich your walk with the Lord and really bring to the forefront your love for the Lord as to what He's done in His Word. When we start thinking about the Bible, we need to think about it as a whole. And if I come to a passage that talks about a well, then I want to know what the well is stood for. What happened at the well? Who was at the well? We think back to the story of wells, we go back to not Jonah in the well, but a different kind of well, a well where you drink water from. And Abraham sends out his servant, and his servant is to go and find a bride for Isaac. Isaac winds up marrying a lady named Rebekah, whose Abraham's servant had met at the well. Later in the story of Genesis, we see that Jacob meets Rachel at a well. So this becomes somewhat of a theme that men meet women at the well, and they become the bride. So the well is more than a place for just physical nourishing. The well is a place for social gathering and a place where people meet and gather and come in contact with one another. So John is definitely picking up on this theme, but I think the story that he's picking up on the most is the story of Moses. Moses, he kills the Egyptian. Pharaoh hears about it. Moses then flees into a foreign land. The foreign land that Moses fled to was Midian, and he goes to a well. That's where the Exodus story takes us. He goes to a well, and there he meets his wife named Zipporah, and he winds up marrying her. So John presents Jesus in pretty much the exact same way as Moses. Jesus has been baptizing. The Pharisees hear about it. Now, Jesus himself wasn't baptizing, but he was making many disciples, and his disciples were baptizing. The Pharisees hear about it, and just like Pharaoh had heard about it, Jesus flees into a foreign land, but not Midian, he flees into Samaria. And here Jesus is going to meet a woman who is going to become part of the bride of Christ. So we have this bride and well theme that begins immediately played out. And that's why John throws that in there. And we're in verse 6 in chapter 4, the Holy Spirit makes sure to tell us that this was Jacob's well. And that'll become more prominent a little bit later. But this thought of the well and the woman and the marriage needs to be all connected to us, and it needs to connect back. So this water that people are drinking in the Old Testament has somewhat of significance for us. Now, Jesus is not going to marry this lady in the same sense in which Jacob married Rachel or that Isaac married Rebekah. It's a different kind of wedding. Obviously, we're talking about a spiritual union. So this water is something that should have some significance for us, and I'll show you what this significance is at a later video. But for right now, we need to understand what John's borrowing from. And I really think he's borrowing from the story of Moses and picturing Jesus in kind of the same way. And the whole purpose of that is Jesus is the new Moses, and that's who the New Testament presents him as. Matthew presents him as the new Moses leading in Exodus. And here John plays off a very similar theme that'll climax with Jesus offering this woman living water. Not just water like Jacob and Rachel and Rebekah and Isaac all drank, but a living water. And it has a spiritual meaning. And I'll teach you that at a later episode. For more Bible and theology, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below.